Welcome into Up in the Rafters, a podcast brought to you by Inside Carolina this college basketball season. I'm Taylor Vippolis hosting this, and as always, joining me, he's a national champion, Final Four most outstanding player, Carolina basketball legend, Joel Berry. Joel, since the last time we talked, there's only been one game. Carolina dismantles American University in behind a big second half performance where Carolina runs American out of the gym. We're not going to spend too much time on that since so much time has already passed since that game ended. But from that game, was there anything that kind of jumped out to you?
They scored 62 points in the second half. I think that we could just stop it from there and just keep the conversation moving. I mean, that's ridiculous. I just thought they did a really good job in the second half, just playing at their pace, not allowing American to run their offensive sets. They're one of the teams that kind of like to slow it down and get into their offense and have all these different actions. Carolina said, no, enough of that. We've seen that too much in the first half. They got it going. They got out on the break. And really, I feel like the whole second half, Carolina was playing ahead of Americans' defense, and the athleticism showed. Then you had some guys started knocking down three-point shots, which they didn't hit in the first half. So all of that stuff combined, defensive, knocking in the three-point shot, playing ahead of the defense, they just blew out American in the second half. Again, 62 points. A lot of teams don't even score that.
The second half is why you schedule a game like American, especially with the daunting schedule that Carolina has with Maui, with Alabama, with their top 10 matchup that they already had this season. When you're playing a team like American, what is it like when it feels like it is a tune-up game and Carolina's scoring 60-plus points in the second half, and you kind of are able to do a lot more of what you're trying to actually do and see how you are able to execute it?
Yeah, I honestly just think more from a confidence standpoint, like just being able to see the ball go in the basket, play the way that you want to play. I think it gives you a barometer of how you want to play throughout the rest of the season. And so having games like this against American, you're able to see, hey, this is what we need to do and this is what we don't need to do. And then I honestly loved it because I think guys are still trying to figure themselves out here at the beginning of the season. Teams are in general. Some of the guys that haven't really been producing well, Cade Tyson, for him to see those those 3-point shots go in, I think it really does make a difference. And I'm curious to see how it will help him moving forward. But that's just an example. You want these type of games to show how we need to play consistently and continually throughout the game, throughout the season, rather.
Yeah, Cade Tyson was one of 5 Tar Heels in double figures. He finished with 11 points. Elliot Cadeau and Jalen Washington scored 18 apiece, and then R.J. Davis and Seth Trimble added in 13 on their own. But North Carolina now, they have another game going to Hawaii. They're going to play Hawaii before they head to the Maui Invitational. In the Maui Invitational, they play Dayton on Monday night. If they win that game, they get the winner of Auburn, Iowa State, a top 5 matchup. UConn is also on the other side of the bracket, potentially waiting for you in the championship game. This is a chance for Carolina, a great chance in front of them to pad its resume for February, for March, whenever Selection Sunday comes. What do you see when you look at the opportunity that's in front of this team in that Maui Invitational?
You can come out of this either one or two ways. You can play really good teams or you can play really good teams. I just think that's how you really put it. I mean, someone has to lose. Everyone can't move on. So even if you end up losing a game, say they move on to the second round, they play Auburn or Iowa State. You end up losing that game. I mean, you could potentially play a Michigan State team. I mean, they haven't been blowing people out of the water, but they're still a good team out of the Big Ten. You got Colorado, you got Memphis, who they already played, but they play really tough. or you could play UConn. I mean, it's a win-win situation, and it's really this tournament is either way, regardless of which direction they go, you have a chance to play some really good teams. I mean, say they lose the first round game, you still play the loser out of Auburn and Iowa State.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is this is a really good opportunity for Carolina to really show where they are after playing a game like Kansas and losing that game. This is a chance for them to show, okay, now we know the sense of urgency with these type of teams that we could potentially play. Let's go and let's have fun and see what we can do.
What is it like as a player going from a situation where right now you're playing one game a week like the team is now to a tournament type setting like the team's going to see in Maui, where you play a game and then less than 24-hour turnaround before you're back out there?
It's tough. I mean, it takes us all back to our AAU days where we used to play 3 games in one day. And so you kind of have to do what you need to do to get yourself prepared. You talk about professionalism. Coaches always stress professionalism. And this is a time to do that. Make sure that you're hydrated. If you need to go down and see Built Doug Tough is what we call Doug Halverson. If you need to go see him, you make sure you get down there and see him and see Jonas, and keeping your body the way that it needs to be able to perform at a high level. So I love these type of events because you also look at it and say, hey, like, if I got the hot hand, if I got it going, I only have to wait a day. And I'm playing again the next day, and let's get this bad boy rolling again. So I love it. I love the fact that you get to do it 3 days in a row.
Part of you just wants to sleep out on the court.
That's really what you want to do. You want to keep it going. Obviously, you can't. But hey, we all know, if you've seen Maui Invitational, you know the rims. It's shooting heaven out there. That's what they should call shooting heaven Maui. That's what it is, because those rims are as soft as can be.
And you have experience playing in the Maui Invitational. You guys won the Maui Invitational back in 2016 on the way to winning the national title. So, of course, you have great memories from Maui. But what exactly do you remember most from your experience there?
Yeah, well, one, we went out there with a chip on our shoulder. Though we were, I want to say we were top 5 in the country. But we knew where we wanted to get. Obviously, given the situation, we just lost the national championship the year before. We're coming back. We're on revengeance, a revengeance tour, or redemption tour, as they called it. And we told everyone we're sweeping everything. We told the guys, look, I won the dance competition. We told them we're sweeping everything. I won the dance competition. Candler Croker and Stillman White won the cornhole, and then we won the tournament. We were sweet. We swept everything. We told them that we were going to do that. So that's what's so fun about this tournament. You talk about like camaraderie, and really getting that environment where you get guys in the same room for a long amount of time, and it's only you guys. It's such a special moment. Also in the fact that it's Thanksgiving, so you have all the families. I mean, it's really one of those high-level tournaments that is awesome, but it's awesome that they get this opportunity. And like I said, they got to go out there with the chip on their shoulder and knowing that they have these opportunities that are right in front of them, and go out there with that mindset of, hey, we're coming to sweep everything. So hopefully they can do it again, go 3-0 with all the activities.
I think the least surprising thing in what you just said is that Candler Coker and Stillman White are good at cornhole.
Hey, we were strategic in our picks. We looked around and we said, look, we just got to be honest. They got it. So we're going to give it to them. We're going to give it to them. And they did it. They finished it.
in a setting like Maui where there is so much stuff on the outside, you're at a resort type location in Hawaii. How do you find the balance between, where there's a lot of things to have fun, but ultimately like we're still here to try to win games.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the personality of your team. Our team was very outgoing, but as Coach Williams alluded to it, we could lock in like this. That's because we were a veteran crew. We knew what we wanted to do. We knew what was at stake and what we wanted to get back to, and that was the national championship. I think for this team, depending on whatever their personality is, it seems that, they had some personality on this team. So it just all depends on what fits them best. If they have fun and they're able to be loose, but also stay locked in, then be that way. If it's more about keeping it strategically about business, keep it that way. So it depends on the what this team does, but you have to also enjoy this moment. I listened to the press conference that Coach Davis was saying and what he did before they went out to Maui. And the fact that he could recall what they did each and every day in Maui just shows that this is one of those tournaments that you remember and one of those opportunities. So embrace all of it, but know it's also about business too, because you want to come out of this tournament on top.
When you guys were having those honest conversations with each other, was there anybody who you're like, yeah, we just can't send him to the dancing competition?
Justin Jackson.
But
the little drop, he would have did that like 30 times, and we would have been like, Justin, you gotta do a new move. But I mean, to get to the championship though, you had to do, I don't know what they called it. What do they call the dance? Where you put the leaves on and you saw it.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you got to be able to move your hips. Justin is tight as can be. So we were like, we knew one person, Justin, you not going up there. Yeah.
And back to the basketball side of things in Maui, Carolina 1000% is going to have assistants scouting the Auburn Iowa State matchup, because like you mentioned, either way you're going to play one of those teams. But from a player perspective, what is the preparation like where you don't really know who you'll play? And when you do know who, how are the coaches relaying the scouting report to you to put yourself in the best spot possible?
Yeah, so obviously, everything is on Dayton right now. They have to get past that game. They can't take that game for granted. Dayton is a team that plays really hard as they always have. So they have to be ready to come out and take on that pressure. Now, with moving on from that game, it's about throwing the last game out, and then that night at dinner, whoever has the scout between the end of the game to when you get to dinner that night, or I want to say a snack. We're looking at the scouting report. We're looking at what the next team likes to do. What we need to focus on, what we need to take away, who we need to prioritize as the players that we want to limit. It's a quick turnaround, and it's sort of in a way like a smaller scale of an NCAA tournament where you get the Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday, or you get the Thursday, Saturday. But it's a quick turnaround. So you have to be ready to kick the last game out and be ready to move on and lock in on the scouting report and lock in on who your matchup is and everyone else, so that you can be prepared for the game. It's a tough task. It's not easy at all, but it's doable.
Yeah, and Carolina is the last game on Monday against Dayton on the 25th. They have the 6:30 game Eastern time, or 6:30 local time, 11:30 Eastern time tip off. So I guess one of the benefits of being that last game is by the time that game ends, you know who you're going to play, and you can kind of get right into that scouting report when the team reconvenes. But looking at that matchup, assuming Carolina does beat Dayton, you have Auburn, the number 4 team in the country, Iowa State, the number 5 team in the country. Is there a matchup that you personally would rather see for Carolina, or think that Carolina would rather see in the second round, just depending on matchups?
If I were to choose a matchup, I would probably say Iowa State. I don't think they're as deep and as athletic and talented as Auburn is. They do have some veteran. Iowa State has some veteran guards. They have guys that can get it done in the backcourt. But I'm looking at both of these teams in the makeup. Both of these teams, Iowa State and Auburn, play really hard. They get after it defensively. And so regardless of what team they play, and as we said, they could play both. It potentially either way, they could play either team. But they have to be ready to take on the pressure. Positive, looking at it from a positive standpoint, you look at Elliot Cadeau this year, 23 assists to 6 turnovers. You look at RJ, 14 assists, 3 turnovers. That's 37 assists to 9 turnovers for your guards that handle the ball. So looking at these two teams, you will have to handle the pressure. You will have to take care of the ball. And I just think with those guys, with Elliot and RJ and the way they're taking care of it, they shouldn't have a problem, but you have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, I'm with you that if you're Carolina, I think you would much rather see a team like Iowa State. Either way, you're going to be playing a top 10 team in the country.
Yeah.
But Iowa State, according to KenPom, is number 7. Auburn is the number 1 team on KenPom. North Carolina is 14. But Auburn's offensive rating is the 2nd best in the country. Their defensive rating is the 5th best in the country in comparison to Iowa State, who has the number 3 defense, but then a pretty far drop off with the 28th best offensive rating in the country. And I think there's just an element to Auburn knowing the caliber of athletes that they have, where it's like, if you catch the wrong caliber of athlete on the wrong night, it's tough.
It's tough. And they're super athletic. I watched that game against Houston, and I mean, it was on display. So I just think from a an advantage standpoint, I think you want an Iowa State who you can potentially limit on the offensive end and just take on that defensive pressure that they bring. But you're talking about an Auburn team that can get after it defensively, but offensively, because it translates over to their defense translates over to their offense. I mean, you get those athletes out in the open court and you get them running. Man, it could be a high pace, high level game. It could present a challenge for Carolina.
A quick break so I could remind everybody about our friends over at Johnny T-Shirt. If you're going to be in Chapel Hill, you could visit Johnny T-Shirt on Franklin Street. And if not, no worries. You could go online to johnnytshirt.com. Now that basketball season's here, they have everything that the Carolina basketball fan could possibly want. The hats, the T-shirts, the jerseys, the cold weather gear. Now that we're getting into late November, early December, they're currently running pre-Black Friday sales on select UNC classics. It's great people, great customer service, and they always have the best deals going. And don't forget, Inside Carolina premium subscribers save 10% off their orders. All right, Joel, to finish the podcast, the last 10 minutes or so, I took to Instagram, try to get a sense from the fans what kind of questions they wanted to get answered. So we have a mailbag.
Here we go.
Can I just say what my least favorite questions are that we always get?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, let me hear one. All right, let me hear a couple.
How far will the team go? Because we're so early in the season. And then somebody else was like, how many wins is the team going to have? And again, I appreciate everybody sending in questions, but asking how many wins will the team has, I don't know what they want us to do. Go game by game and do a win-loss?
Or have a crystal ball and just, I don't know, guess and see how many. I mean, they average over 20 wins, so I at least know to go over 20. So,
But appreciate everybody that sent in questions. We'll go to the first question from D_Curbs. How do you see Ian Jackson's and Drake Powell's role developing as the season unfolds, with them both being top 10 players in their class?
Yeah, that's one of the things I've been thinking about for those two guys. Just with because it's complex. You got to think about the development of the guys that have already been at Carolina. And then to his point, you got to think about their development too. So it's very complex because you got Elliot Cadeau and Seth Trimble playing at a really a really high level right now, and they get after it offensively. And then you also obviously got the reigning ACC Player of the Year. So my point at the beginning of the season was that, like, for Ian and Drake, they don't have to come in and be like, 20 points a game, or even if you go 15 points a game. I think we all have to change our expectations on what we see from them. As we've already seen from Drake Powell, he's athletic, he can rebound the crap out of the ball, and he gets after defensively. But I see his offensive game getting a little bit better throughout the season, because he'll know when to be aggressive offensively, when not to. He'll know when to pick his spots. He'll use that athleticism to slash to the basket. Same for Ian Jackson, like we saw in the Kansas game. At the right time, he stepped up and knocked down big time shots to kind of keep Carolina in that striking range. So I think we'll see it as the year continues. But these guys, most importantly, we need their energy, and Carolina needs their athleticism more than anything.
Continuing with the freshman, a quick follow-up from Big Movie Fan. He's asked, how do you balance getting those two freshmen enough playing time and getting them comfortable, while also keeping in mind that Coach Davis is coaching to win games?
Yeah, that's another great question. I think it's one of those things, as a coach, you sort of have a feel for how far you need to let the leash go before you rein them back in, before they lose their confidence. I think that's why it's so great for a young guy to come into a situation where they have veteran players. And I'm speaking from my experience with having Marcus Page, Nate Britt in front of me. There were times where I kind of was, deer in headlights, and I'm losing it. And coach was able to keep me out there for a little bit, but say, hey, we need to pull him back in. We need to give him some pointers. We need to let him slowly but surely feel these type of pressure moments. So I think for Coach Davis and the staff, I think there's a way of letting these guys figure it out, but also to a point where it's like, all right, let's rein them back in and give them some assistance.
Jeffrey McGee asked, how do we get RJ Davis more involved without diminishing the great work that Elliot Cadeau and Seth Trimble have shown early in the season?
Well, I will preference it with this. I looked up the stats because it kind of feels like RJ Davis isn't having that ACC Player of the Year type season as of yet. I mean, you look at the field goal percentage through 3 games, he's shooting 31%. From the 3-point line, he's only shooting 20, but he's averaging 17 points per game. Look back last season, he was averaging 14 points per game. Right now, the field goal was up at 43, and the percentage for 3-point was up at 27. So basically what I'm saying is it's coming for RJ. And I look at his shots. If you looked at the American game, he had a lot of wide open opportunities where from the 3-point line. And then, I mean, you look at it, if he hits 3 of the wide open threes that he had in that game, you're looking at a 20-point night almost for RJ Davis. So I just think that this is Elliot and Seth can continue what they're doing. It's just RJ needs to knock down those shots that we're used to seeing him knock down. And he's doing it in a fashion where he's not forcing the issue, and Elliot and Seth are able to still do what they're doing.
Continuing with Elliot Cadeau, Noah Davis asked, what's the biggest change you've seen this season with Cadeau?
His pace and his in the game is slowing down for him. I said it earlier in the pod, 23 assists to 6 turnovers. This is a guy that's always looking to make a play, whether it be for himself or for his teammates. And I just think now he understands when to be aggressive and when to and when to say, look, I can fit this pass in there, but I'll live to see another day. Those opportunities, or that only comes with slowing down, being able to see the court and being able to make those reads. Also, the way he's finishing at the rim is incredible. He's playing at a high level, And Taylor, I'll give you one more before we go. He only made 5 threes in the regular season last year. He's already made 4. This dude is playing unbelievable right now.
Yeah, he's got a green light and he's shooting it a lot more. I think it's interesting with the assist to turnover. Last year, his assist to turnover ratio was just over 2.2. This season, it's 3.8. His field goal percentage is up. His 3-point percentage is up. He just looks like a lot more confident of a player when he's out there. Harry Pytel asked, through UNC's first 3 games, where does this team have the most room to grow and improve on?
I think the start to their games defensively has to get a lot better. We see in the game against American was just basically doing what Kansas did in the first half. And we saw 2 games with the talent that's there, the number 1 team in the country, versus the talent that's just not there, and we can get by with athleticism and us being the better team. You go against a Kansas team where you're up, you get down by 20 points, and you go against an American team where you're still able to be up. They can't afford that. They have to be better in that initial surge in their defense and communication, and I feel like that's where they have to get better, because when they get settled into the game, offensively, defensively, they're getting after it. So I just think it's that initial surge defensively in the first half.
Yeah, and that's perfect too, because a bunch of people were asking about how Carolina can kind of get off to faster starts. And you said it, Coach Davis has said it, it kind of starts on the defensive end for this team and letting their defense kind of be their best offense. Yep. W. Jackling 32 asked, what's UNC's best strength as a team?
I think they're the way that they guard defensively and turn defense into offense right now is really good. They're scoring, their field goal percentage in transition right now is 52%. They're scoring over 1 point points per possession in transition. So you look at it, that's where they this team is so freaking fast that they're at the rim before you can even turn around and get ready to prepare for defense. And that's by dribbling the ball. But then, you got or Elliott, that's Coach Davis keeps talking about the kick aheads, playing with the primary mindset, not having to run half court offense. I think that's their strength right now. And we see when they're getting ahead of the defense, you get the second half of a Kansas game. That's the type of ball that Carolina needs to play as consistent as possible.
All right, let's take a quick break so I can remind everybody about our friends over at Congruity. Congruity is the leading provider for Tar Heel business owners, payroll, HR, and employee benefit needs. Inside Carolina listeners can get a free payroll and HR assessment by emailing Matt at Congruity. Email is matt@congruityhr.com. That email again is matt@congruityhr.com. All right, let's get back to the episode. And we have one final question from AB Johnson 71201. What would you say the pros and cons of not having a true big have been for this North Carolina team, and what kind of benefits outside of just being able to play a lot faster are there to having a smaller lineup?
Yeah, the con is you just don't have a post present where, back in the day basketball, you just throw it down and you can get a bucket from the post. Or, back when I was playing a screen in the paint to get, Armando open for an easy hook shot at the rim. It's really none of that. Now it's more of pick and roll, pick and pop, which is a positive though, because we have guards that can get into the lane and create. If you take the big man out, who are going to stop those guys? And you have to be able to help, and they're quick enough to be able to break guards down and play make. You have your typical bigs, you shrink the floor. Now you can't have those guards be able to get into the paint to make plays. So the con is, like I said, you don't have that low post present, but the pro is you allow the strength of your team, which we all know is the backcourt. You allow these guards, you use that athleticism, you use that quickness, and then the bigs can play off of that. Drop-offs, offensive rebounds with the bigs coming over trying to block the guard shot. Now they have that mismatch with a guard trying to block them out. That's where the offensive rebound opportunities will come. So I think the pros outweighs the con is what I'm saying.
A big week ahead for Carolina basketball. Back in action Saturday against Hawaii. Are you going to be up 12:30?
Man, I might miss that. I'm gonna
12,
have to watch. I'm gonna have to watch that first one.
12:30 a.m. tip on ESPN2. That might be a DVR, and I'll catch you.
Yeah, I catch that on Synergy
in the morning. But then Carolina, after Saturday, the Maui Invitational starts Monday night. Another late tip, but an hour earlier, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2 against Dayton. Big week ahead. We will be back next week to break it all down. Joel, appreciate the time as always, and appreciate everybody watching and listening.
Yes, sir.